Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us live.
Are you muted?
I am. Yes, I did. I'm good. So, let's see. We got Pam's here and Homestead Nana, and Aunt Holly is here. Thank you all for joining us on this evening. It's actually it's getting colder, but it's been warm today, which has been a nice because it was really cold last week.
Yeah.
For several days, but we knew that these warmer days were coming, so we didn't want to start our wood stove yet. When you start it, you gotta be like ready to run it every day kind of thing, usually. You know what I mean?
Well, I just feel like it wastes, at least for us, it can waste some of the wood because you'll run it, you really only need it maybe for a few hours or something like that. But you gotta run, that thing is sliding.
I have a tripod problem, yeah.
Sorry people, hang in there. I know it's bouncing around. Our tripod's all
wonky.
Really wonky.
There we go. Try that.
It slides on our little tablecloth here, so hopefully that holds. Yeah. So you put wood in your wood stove, but it's only gonna be cold for 3 or 4 hours. But you run a lot of wood just to try, and almost by the time the wood stove gets hot enough to heat your house.
Your house is already warmed up itself.
Yeah, it's not even cold anymore, so.
So what we got, let's see who else has joined us here. Debbie is here from Oklahoma, and Lois from Ohio, and Kelly from Alabama, and Grammy is here. Welcome, everybody.
This stupid thing, it's still sliding.
It's going to be a little crooked. Well, why don't you lean the butter container up against it?
Maybe.
So, how's the beetle problem? That's a great question. The beetle problem has actually been really okay the last 2 days because it's been kind of overcast. They only cause a problem when it's a really sunny day and the sun hits the front of the house and they all just stream through the cracks in the front windows and doors because it's an old house. I mean, it's just like overwhelming problem if you saw that video. And so Becky, who I don't think is here tonight, but she's been a longtime viewer, and she and several other people messaged me or posted on the video that they use this thing, it's called I can't remember, it's like thermo something, it's like white and green, and they highly recommended it. They all said it worked really well. So I located some, but now
a spray or a wrap?
Yeah, it's like a spray. It's like a natural killer. Like, it's supposed to be safer on animals and kids.
Oh, okay.
And so I found some, but then it's been overcast, and so they haven't been coming in the house. So I haven't used it. So I don't really know. So if it doesn't freeze before we have our next sunny day, I'm going to give it a shot, unless you guys all know how it goes. A lot of you suggested vacuuming them up, which I think would work because we've done that in the past, but I don't have a vacuum anymore because we don't have any carpets anymore, and so I don't have a vacuum. So.
All right, who did we miss? Did you say
Mrs. Peach is here from California. Chilly day today.
Phyllis from Southeast Kansas. Hello, Ann from Nebraska. And Out and About with Sam I Am.
Hit the thumbs up. Yeah, if you have a moment, hit thumbs up. It helps us in the algorithm, and we appreciate that. So we can get started. We're doing something a little crazy in November, and we thought we would chat with you all about it because we thought maybe you would have some really good ideas as well, because I have some parts of it that I haven't quite figured out in my head. But first, I will tell you the story of how this came about. So I was shopping last week with the girls, right? And so I was just getting I had like my list of some like household things that we needed to get, not like groceries, but you know what I'm saying, like toilet paper or, something for cleaning, things like that. And I looked at my cart and I was trying to like stay on budget, and everything of course is more expensive. I was looking at my cart and I was figuring out that I had about $50 worth in my cart. And I was like, I really, I'm trying to keep it under 40. Like, what is in my cart that I don't have to have right now? I had, I had some diapers and wipes, because we use disposable diapers for like babysitters and overnights, and a cloth diaper during the day. And I had some like toilet paper, and I had like toilet bowl cleaner, like the blue stuff you squirt in there, things like that. And then I realized that about everything in my cart, didn't have to have. There are things that make life more convenient, definitely, but I was like, that's $50 I'm going to spend. I don't really have to have any of those things. And so I got thinking, I was like, even though we do try to be somewhat, low waste and try to buy things that
I'm telling you,
it just keeps sliding. Don't produce a lot of trash. I was like, we still probably do buy a lot maybe not compared to other people, but things that are still kind of wasting money and creating a lot of trash. Let's try sliding this and just leave it up against that.
There you go.
And so I have decided, after doing that and being like, man, I have other things I'd like to spend that $50 on anyway, that we're going to do a no waste November challenge. And if any of you want to join us for that, we'd love to have you. You can email us a picture or something if you have a cool hack. We put it on our Facebook page. We'd love to feature some of you guys that are our viewers and always give us such great tips. But we're going to try doing a no waste November. And what that means, I like it. I say no waste November because it's catchy. I think it'd be pretty much impossible for us to be absolutely zero waste because there's certain things that we have to have, even like Annie's medication bottles and the syringes that come with them, that you can't do them. Like you can't get them in a way that's reusable, like consistently reusable. So there is going to be some waste. But our goal we were talking about is we only get one 13-gallon trash bag a week. And that's all the waste that we're allowed to produce. Which, if you are newer here, we're a family of 8. So that's not very much trash for a lot of people.
Let's see. Debbie said they got rain. Hello, J&B from KC Mo, not too far away.
Yeah.
Homestead Nana's here from Massachusetts.
Awesome.
And Tessa is here as well.
Welcome.
Yeah, 1 bag a week for family of 8 is, that's not much.
It's not much. And so right now I think we produce about 5 13-gallon trash bags a week. And we also produce probably 4 like Walmart size sacks, which is basically the little trash can that's in each room. So that's a considerable reduction. I mean, that's like down to like what, 15 or 20% of what we are producing now.
Yeah, it's a big
it's
reduction.
a big reduction.
That
but I
doesn't
think
count paper and cardboard.
Yeah.
That we burn.
So I think we can do it. So right now we already have a compost pile, so we really aren't throwing food waste away. I have to kind of get onto the kids a little bit because a lot of times they'll just dump it in the trash can, but we're going to make sure that they're putting it in the compost bucket now, or we feed it to the chickens. And then we have a burn barrel for like cardboard and paper that's not, coated with anything. So those are systems we already have. But my question for you tell me what you think. What do you define as waste? Like, would that include not producing recyclable things like plastics or metal that's you could put out in a recycling container? What about things that are burnable? Is that waste? Like, should we be looking to like reduce our cardboard and paper usage?
Yeah, I told Laura I think waste is whatever you have to put in the can at the end of your driveway every week. I think that's what waste is. At least for me. That's my definition. Hello, Cindy from Mississippi. Thank you. I love you all.
Well,
we
thank
love
you very much.
Too, Cindy.
Thanks for watching. Debbie says we used to burn what we could, now we can't burn. Yes, and a lot of that will depend on where you live. So burning isn't an issue for us, but definitely if you are in a city, and that will also impact your waste because things that most people burn, you might have to throw in your trash can, or you might be able to recycle them. We do not have access to municipal recycling, so we cannot recycle plastic. So I already try to watch our plastic use, and I'm going to get really strict on it this next month because that's a lot of what goes into our trash can, our plastics. I also don't have a way to recycle metal unless we collect it in really big quantities and bring it to like a scrap yard. But we already don't produce very much metal waste because now that we have so much home canning, I don't buy cans of things rarely. I mean, I have some like tuna fish and, but that's about it. So we don't produce a lot of metal waste either. But the paper, we do produce a good amount, or cardboard, like cereal boxes and things that go in the burn barrel. So I don't know if that's waste.
Hello, Hello,
okay.
Elaine from Ontario, Canada. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, we were talking, like, one of the things that do fill up our trash bags quickly, like we drink a lot of milk, and those come in usually plastic cartons. So we were talking about how to get around that, maybe trying to buy paper, the cardboard cartons of milk, the half-gallon size. So what are your plans?
So what plans? Yeah. So trying. So this week I've been just kind of monitoring my trash can and seeing what's in there. Let's see. Lois says, trash and waste are two different things to me. Trash is what I really can't get rid of any other way. Waste is what I get rid of that I could have used up in another way. Okay.
That's good.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is a good perspective.
We're in a town of 1,200 to 1,300 people, and the sticks 34 miles to the nearest town of 11,000 to 12,000. Yep.
That is kind of the bummer sometimes when it comes to some of the stuff living out in the middle of nowhere. If you live in a decent sized town, a lot of times you will have recycling and things like that, that are available that do help with projects like this.
Though I will say, from what I've read, most plastic recycling doesn't actually get recycled.
Right.
So,
a town we lived in had recycling, and we later found out that they weren't actually recycling it. It was cheaper. It cost too much to recycle. Like they just couldn't do it because it cost too much to recycle. So they were actually selling all of the recycling stuff. Or not selling. They were paying to have it just disposed of. So it just went into the trash heap anyway.
Spent all that time sorting, and they were just dumping it all in the trash heap anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of anti. I mean, I think plastics are really good in specific circumstances. Like, I'm grateful if you have to go to the hospital that they're using a one-time plastic, whatever, so we don't cross-contaminate things. But I think for daily life, plastics are way overused, and they're really damaging to the environment, and they're not really recycled. So we're really trying to watch our plastics usage, I guess. So anyway, some things that we've been doing and that help cut down on plastic usage is just making sure I'm getting stocked up on my homemade things. So if you've been watching our Facebook page, like, I just made a big thing of hand soap so that you're not buying plastic soap bottles. That's something we've been doing for a while. We just have mason jars, and they have a pumper on top. We make our own soap. And I use Castile soap, which comes in paper wrapped bars. There's really no waste from making it. Just made another batch of our laundry soap. Same thing, paper wrapped bar, so there's no waste from making it. Annie and I worked in the kitchen today perfecting a dish soap recipe, because I love me some Blue Dawn, but not only has it gotten gravely expensive lately, but it comes in huge plastic bottles. And we go through quite a bit because we don't have a dishwasher. And also, the girls don't necessarily measure it out. They just turn it upside down, and
they're liberal with
their Dawn usage.
Usage,
it's a lot of money. So we trying to get that gone. And then I was also working. So I wouldn't necessarily consider toilet paper waste because it gets broken down and the tubes are compostable or burnable. But it is really expensive, and the girls also are very liberal with their usage, and we run through it so fast. So I've been working on making some more family cloth squares out of the flannel. I have so many the flannel receiving blankets. So we're gonna make some more of those. I've been talking to the older girls about maybe using those because they kind of understand, and they won't dump them in the potty and stuff.
We need to have a sign in the bathroom, right next to the toilet, that just says, like, I don't know, flannel in the can, not in the toilet, or something. I don't know. It'll
say toilet paper is gonna have like a lock on it. And if they put like a 5-cent piece in there to get their squares every time they want to use toilet paper, you think you maybe something like that?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we kind of got away from family cloth a little bit. It's because the girls kept dumping those flannel wipes in the toilet, not on purpose. You just get in a habit, and then we would have a clogged potty.
But I mean, toilet paper it's so expensive when you're buying it for so many people, because we can go through a $20 pack in a week, and a lot of it is just because the kids, they don't understand like how much they really need. I do not know how we don't clog the potty with toilet paper every day. Like, they use so much. And so trying to transition at least the older kids to being like, just use the family cloth when we're at home. Let's save some money, and then we can do fun things as a family instead of spending all our money on toilet paper. So I've been working on sewing more squares, and I've started sleeping the baby in cloth diapers overnight. The only reason I don't do that, and I was using disposables, because it supposedly helps them sleep through the night because they don't feel that they get wet. But Mr. Man already still wakes up to eat, so he, like, changing his diaper is not a big deal. So
Let's see. Debbie says, take a jug of milk, and when it's half full, make powdered milk and add to the regular milk, and it stretches it. I do that sometimes.
That's
a
tip.
good idea. And Tara's here.
Welcome.
Hello. And Karen from Massachusetts.
So one thing I would like to replace, and maybe some of you guys have a recipe, I really like the Clorox wipes. You know what I mean? Like you pull them out of the canister.
Yeah.
Because when the girls' job, one of their jobs, you know, is to wipe down the table after a meal. And if you give a 4-year-old a spray bottle, let me tell you, they have the powers of the Almighty Lord. Yeah. I mean,
the whole
stand
kitchen
back.
gets sprayed.
But if I give them like a wipe, just you use this one wipe and you wipe down the table, nobody has to go to the emergency room for getting chemicals in their eyes.
Well, it's the same thing with the toilet or the sink if they're helping to clean the bathroom and stuff.
All right, I'm going to tell a funny story. And I want to tell you what child this is. A little off topic, but it's really funny. But once upon a time, somebody gave us Elmer's glue, and it was spray glue.
It's funny.
And the older girls always wanted to use it, but I didn't want them to use it without me because somebody was going to get hurt, right? And that stuff is like incredibly sticky. So one child one day was working on a project. She really wanted to use that spray glue. And I said, not right now. I don't remember what I was doing, but I was probably changing a diaper. I said, I don't want you using it without me. I said, give me 5 minutes and we'll do it together or whatever. And I go to do what I'm doing, and not 30 seconds later, I hear just screaming, and then she comes it sounded like elephants hoofing across the room, and she's like, Mom, I'm going to be blind. I can't open my eyes, because she had taken the cap off and sprayed it, but didn't look which way it was spraying, and she had glued her eyes shut.
Like that fast.
That fast.
Glued her eyes shut.
It was great. Mom! She was fine. We read the instructions on the back and flushed her eyes for 15 minutes or whatever. But let me tell you, you don't give kids things that spray when they're little. I mean, the older girls now are responsible with stuff that sprays, but she was 4 or 5 at the time and not.
It was really funny.
And thought she could do it and learned her lesson. So anyway, I really like Clorox wipes. But maybe I was thinking I could make my own. I was thinking maybe I could cut some old T-shirts up into little squares and then, save a Clorox wipe canister and put some sort of solution in there, and so that you can just like pull them out. But I'd be curious what my solution would be. I've read some things about using rubbing alcohol, but that sounds really smelly to me. So does anybody make their own Clorox wipes, and what do you use? I'd be curious.
Tara says, I learned my lesson about spray bottles in Reach when Harley sprayed her detangler all over the bathroom, and I almost slipped off the toilet. That's funny.
You're gonna miss these days, Tara.
Oh yeah. At least you get good stories out of them.
You get stories
that's for sure.
So
that's funny.
What do you think your hardest waste reduction will be? Like, do you feel like it impacts you? I know you're not home nearly as much, but I think it does count when we go out. Like, we're going out to town. Like, I don't want to say, oh, look, we reduced our waste so much. But then every time we go out to town, we're, like, throwing away trash bags worth of stuff that we bought in town. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. No, that doesn't count. That's cheating. I remember your mom, Sam, making her own baby wipes. Yeah, yes. She did.
Paper towel.
Yeah, paper towel that we cut in half. And then you soaked it in a little tub. And you could use those as baby wipes. And those do work.
We do.
Well.
We've made those before. I stopped making them just because I mainly just use the cloth wipes, and then I just package regular wipes for if we have babysitter. But it does work really well. It's what you take a paper towel roll and you cut it in half, and then you take the center out of it, the cardboard part, and then in a Tupperware that's tall enough for that paper towel roll to stand up in, you put some water and just a little bit of baby soap, and then you just sit the paper towels in there, and it soaks right up the circle, and then you start from the middle, pull it up where the cardboard used to be, and it just pops up just like wipes, which is really nice. But you have to make sure you use a really good quality paper towel. You can't buy the 99-cent Walmart ones because they'll disintegrate in the water, but like a Bounty quilted or whatever, they'll do really good. So
I don't know about me personally how no waste would affect me. Not as much because it will affect me because we'll have to use different products and stuff like that, but me personally, I don't feel like I create a ton of waste.
Oh.
I mean, I do. If you just count the household altogether, I do.
Right.
But let's see. Whisper says, my kids thought they would help fill the gas tank before going to the amusement park. They used the water hose to do so.
No.
Oh no.
How do you even
That's the worst.
How do you even solve that problem?
I don't know if
You
you
get a
can.
new gas tank?
I don't know if you can siphon it all out or get some kind of a pump to pump it all out, or if you just have to drop the tank to dump it all out. I don't know.
One of our kids, 1 year, also not mention who this is, but it's the same child who did the other thing, decided that she was going to help Daddy get ready because he was leaving for work and it had snowed, and so the car was covered with snow, and she was going to help him by scraping the windows, and she took my garden hoe to scrape the window, and I mean just and broke the back. I mean a huge hole in the back of the windshield of the back of the car.
It was
December
23rd. It was the day before Christmas Eve.
And we had no money because it was the day before Christmas Eve, and we knew that he would be missing some work would be off for Christmas, and his other job you don't get paid if you didn't work, and so money was really tight, and then the most expensive window in your car to break, but it was our only vehicle, so we had to fix it. It was crazy.
Oh, it was rough. And I felt so bad for her because she was just trying to help, but she took that metal rake and just. There it went. Let's see. Yeah, towed it to the repair shop, and yep. And then we have Wendy Benjamin watching from Nova Scotia.
Welcome.
Thanks for hopping in.
Okay, so let me think of where else we have waste. So some of the things that I feel like I can't control, like the butcher that we have bought our meat from wrapped vacuum sealed everything. So. We'll be producing, if I use meat in a meal, which I don't every meal, but several times a week, that plastic will be in the trash can. And that's something, I'm not going to go to Whole Foods and buy all sorts of really expensive new meats, when I already have a fully stocked pantry. That's kind of silly.
Do you think we could ask them in the future to wrap things in paper?
So some butchers let you. I believe that this particular butcher does not. They only do, but some do. You can ask for your meat wrapped in butcher paper, and from what I understand, as long as you're going to use it within about 6 to 9 months, butcher paper works fine. Some people,
you get freezer burned.
18 months later, you're still working through it, and it'll get freezer burned, but the plastic protects it, so that's why they do the plastic. I think it's also less expensive for the butcher to do the plastic.
I could see that. Especially if that's what everyone does, and
right.
having to order the paper special or whatever.
But I don't know, I should ask, because the people who are butchering our sheep for us, this is a different butcher than the one we got the pig from, and I'll have to ask them if they'll do butcher paper. That's a good idea. Because then we just burn that, right?
Yep, good.
So, see what else. We've already kind of kicked our soda habit out of expensiveness, so that we don't have a lot of cans or plastic bottles anyway. The girls all have, and the boy also have their own water bottles, so they don't really produce. They have their water bottle they carry all day, and then they have a glass cup with a colored silicone cozy on it that they use for juice and milk. So you have just your cups, and we bring those water bottles everywhere.
They do.
So we never have to buy drinks when we're out, even if we get them something to eat from a restaurant. We never buy drinks.
I would say the girls are they're on top of bringing their water bottles.
They never want to be without their drink.
They can't get in the van without bringing their water bottle with them. They're adamant about it. There will be tears if we leave and someone does not have their water bottle.
And I'm impressed. In the 2 months or whatever they've had them, we have not lost a water bottle. We almost did, but we found it once. But
Elaine says those bag sealers are wonderful for storing meat, etc.
I actually don't have a vacuum sealer. That's one thing on my maybe one day in the future, especially because I'm getting more and more into dehydrating things.
Right.
I think I'd like to have a vacuum. I can't remember what the brand name is, but the vacuum, the Easy Seal, is that what it is? The vacuum sealer.
Yep.
Especially with all that dried food, because then we could do a bunch at one time, and then seal them in pouches for the girls.
I feel like you do a bunch at one time, but they still you've been doing bananas once a week.
I
they're
dehydrated.
Literally all gone by the next day.
I dehydrated
4 bags of bananas.
20 pounds of bananas this weekend, and you know how many are left? 0. But that 20 pounds of bananas, it cost me $4 because our grocery store marks them down when they're too ripe. So, $4 for all that snacks. but man, they ate them so fast.
Whisper says they charge so much for buying soft drinks in a restaurant. You guys save so much not doing that.
Yeah.
They do. That's where they get you sometimes, is with the soft drinks. Let's see. Elaine says Minnie is called.
Mine is called
Seal a Meal. Okay, works wonderful. I always vacuum. Holly says I always vacuum seal any meat I buy from the grocery store.
And I really
That's a good
think,
idea.
like, if you're putting it in the freezer, like, that's a great idea because the grocery store doesn't seal them tight enough. You don't use that within a few weeks. It starts to get freezer burn on it. Excuse me.
Jepco says, funny, just bought a sealer today for only $30 from Little in the Middle.
Okay. I might have to go. I don't really think they're that expensive. I think what gets expensive is when you have to buy the big bag of bags, you know, with all their pouches,
yeah.
but you get like 100 or 200 at a time. So I think it's worth it. You know, your mom has one and she uses it a lot, so it would be worth it. I should. I'm actually getting a second dehydrator, which is also going to help. One way that we have really cut down expenses and waste is making our own snacks, like the dehydrated bananas. The girls just, I mean, they're growing and they're hungry, and I never want to be like so controlling of their food that we cause them issues, but man, they would snack all day if we let them, which we don't. And the snacks are so expensive, especially because we're really being careful about the quality of the foods that we eat with Annie, like having kind of a strict whole foods diet and things like that. And so you want to buy snacks like that are individually wrapped. I mean, it's like $2 a kid. So
Let's see. Elaine says mine was $99 in Canada. Tara says yes, thousands of snacks per day.
Yep.
You cut down on snacks though. Like,
I do.
They used to eat a lot of snacks, and you finally just said, "Listen, you get 3 meals a day, and maybe
we get an afternoon
1 or
snack.
2 snacks a day, and that's pretty much it."
Well, we were having problems because they wouldn't eat their meals,
Yeah,
and
ever.
and we would
Any
make
meal.
really good meals that should fill bellies, which costs money and stuff, and they would not. And then they would eat all these snacks. So
40,
it was just like,
40 minutes later, they go to the snack basket and eat 2 snacks each.
Yeah, so we're not gonna do that. So I would say that being stricter about when snack time has really helped. But
With
it's also
waste.
hard because you don't want your child to be hungry. And I know when they're little, especially when they're like 2, 3, and 4, their bellies are really little. And so being like, all right, it's just had lunch. It's 6 hours till dinner. Like, that's not, their bellies can't hold that much food. And so they get hungry. But I will also say it has cut down on the snacky desire since we have changed the kind of snacks. I used to have good snacks. And when I say good snacks, I don't mean good for you snacks. I mean like Little Debbie cakes and things like that. Things that are yummy. And since we've kind of overhauled our diet, snacks are more like raisins or like a fruit cup or an applesauce pouch or peanut butter and carrots or something. Like, if they're hungry, they like it, you know what I mean? But if you're just snacking because you're bored, it's, you know, who really feels like just munching on carrots and peanut butter, things like that.
Holly says I also vacuum seal dry goods in jars. That's a good idea.
Yeah, so that's on my Christmas list if you didn't see that. I want a mason jar vacuum sealer. It's like a little hose attachment. I guess I'd have to get a vacuum though at that point. But I think that's an awesome way to extend the shelf life. So especially if you're buying things in bulk and maybe not cooking for a lot of people, you can really extend the shelf life of things like flour and sugar. I know a lot of people do what's called dry canning, but I've read some pretty negative things about them. And I know some people they're just trying to prevent you from putting things up. But I think scientifically it makes sense. You know, if you're putting something in a jar and with dry canning, you put it, just a dry good in a jar, you know, put a mason jar lid on it, and then you put it in the oven at like 200 degrees for a certain amount of time. It's like a couple hours. If there is any moisture in there, it can't get it out. And then 200 degrees is not hot enough to kill E. coli and botulism and things like that. So you're creating like the perfect festering environment for something like that. So 99% of the time you'll be just fine, but that 1% of the time you could really get sick. And if somebody who is maybe elderly or just immunocompromised is the person who happens to have that food, you're really, really gonna make them sick. So, but all that to say that the mason jar vacuum sealing is a way to get the same result without the same risk. So, because there's no heat involved.
Tara says yes, that's their same problem.
Yeah,
with the
snacks all the time. Oh, let me tell you, there's one snack they love. So I make a lot of popcorn because it's cheap. and it's pretty healthy. I mean, if you don't have some people are really sensitive to corn, but we aren't. But man, you have not seen a mess until you've seen
like
5 kids eat popcorn.
That living room will just be destroyed. It looks like you took a couple
I
bags.
swear
and
they
just
take it
dumped
and they
out.
just like stuff it in the couch
Yeah,
cushions
it's
on purpose.
terrible.
It's terrible. So
I don't know how that happens, but it does. Let's see. Anne says you can use a manual brake bleeder to vacuum seal jars. You need the jar sealer attachment. There are YouTube videos on the process.
What
a
is-
brake bleeder?
what's a
kit.
brake bleeder?
It's what
Like
you
for
use
cars?
To, yeah,
Oh,
what you
okay.
use to bleed
No,
your
good to
brakes.
know. Thank you,
But it
Anne.
would be pretty cheap for sure.
I'll have to check that out.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
All right.
I'd never heard of that.
So where
cool.
else, waste wise? I think the big ones really are. I'm gonna find a recipe to replace those Clorox wipes, and I'll let you know if I find a good one. And then, like, I think the milk jugs will be a big one.
I think the milk jugs fill up our trash a lot, and I think like you've already said, like all the cleaning product kind of stuff that comes in
Yeah.
plastic, those fill up the. In general, like you said, it's just plastic things.
Everything's plastic.
If it's wrapped in plastic or whatever, like it, that's what's gonna fill it up for sure. I dry canned or oven canned flour. My husband went nuts. He worked in a bakery and flour burns or can blow up. I don't do that anymore, says
Yeah.
Pam. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, don't you put flour on like a grease fire to put it out? Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Throw it on your pan. It smothers it.
I
Nope.
don't know about that. She's saying don't do that.
Yeah.
Because flour can burn up.
Yeah, dry
I don't
canning
know.
is one of those things that I see floating around Facebook, and I'm not saying that it's like absolutely dangerous all the time, but I think in the small circumstance where the conditions
super
you have to be
careful.
super careful. Where like regular canning has been scientifically proven that if you follow the steps, it's safe 100% of the time. There's like no risk involved. I think that's the difference. Trying to think. Well, so yeah. We also produce, even just using diapers just overnight, some of the babysitter, we're actually producing a fair amount of diaper trash. I mean, that's at least 31 diapers, right? And then, babysitter, because Mama watches them about once a week. So producing still about 40 to 50 diapers a month. And that's several, I mean, that's the Walmart bags right there, 3 or 4 of them. So I think using cloth diapers basically 100% of the time is going to just automatically cut the trash down.
Yeah.
And also when we use disposable diapers, we tend to use disposable wipes just because it's a convenience. They both go in the same can instead of
Right.
having to separate them. And so we'll reduce that trash as well. And it's just a convenience thing for me. Because I could cloth diaper for like a week and never have to wash a diaper because I have so many. Not that you should do that. But it's not about like running out of diapers or not having enough or not having what I need. It's convenient to put them in a disposable overnight, but it produces a fair amount of trash, and diapers are getting more expensive like everything else. And, is the convenience worth the expense? I don't feel like it is right now because I feel like the price is too high. And I'd rather have that money for something else.
Debbie says QVC has
Okay.
vacuum sealers. Holly says, I wash out milk jugs and save extra water in them just in case the electric goes out and I don't have water for the toilet and to wash dishes. That's a good idea.
point.
Yeah. And Refining Roots is here. Hello, hello.
Welcome.
Late,
Thanks for joining us.
But glad to be here.
We're talking about No Waste November if you are just joining us.
Technically, probably low waste.
It's technically Low Waste November, but No Waste is
November.
catchier.
It rolls off the tongue a little easier.
So, some of the really simple things that we already do, if you're listening to this and you're like, I produce like way too much trash, I don't even know where to start. Like, I use rags for all my cleaning. I use a reusable dishcloth instead of a sponge. There's no sponge wastes. Let's see what else. We use cloth diapers and cloth wipes the majority of the time.
We're going to attempt to make all of our cleaning supplies kind of reusable things.
We already make a
as we
bunch,
can.
but there's several we've talked about that we don't make that we're going to try to make this month and see how they go.
Hello, Prepped for Eternity. Thanks for hopping on.
Yes, welcome. We don't use like saran wrap and stuff. I have bees wrap. We don't use Ziploc bags. Again, I use the bees wrap or I use a mason jar.
You use Ziploc bags, but they're reusable ones.
Yeah,
when
I
you
have
do it. You have
reusable
some.
ones. So I don't buy the throwaway ones. Things like that. I'm trying to think.
I know, like, a big one for me is, like, what's going to impact me the most, probably, in the coming weeks is packing a lunch.
Yeah. You don't eat lunch every day, though, I feel like.
That's true, too.
You don't like eat out every day. Some days you just don't eat lunch, but we'll have to pack lunch. So, yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow, a school update. Tomorrow starts again. I have a last term before Christmas. We're going to squeeze it in. This is going to be, I have a maternal child class. So I'm going to get to go to the pediatric floor for clinicals and a labor and delivery floor for clinicals. So that'll be fun. And then I'm also taking Pharmacology 1. So, and let me tell you, that maternal child book, I'm not even joking. It's gotta be like 4.5 inches thick. It is huge. But I am excited about the class. But it's a little intimidating looking at that book. And pharmacology is just going to be
just a lot of memorization.
So much memorization. But anyway, that starts tomorrow. I'll be in class for like 8 hours tomorrow.
Let's see, I think that means Mylar bags are better but expensive. Yeah, there's a lot of different quality. I have some that are silicone, and I have some that are, I think it's PVC, which probably isn't the best for you. The silicone ones are definitely better. The PVC ones have started to come away at the seams. So some of it is what you, like, you get what you buy. It's some of this reusable
some of that stuff really is an investment, for sure.
Let's see. And then also I'll be using reusable like produce bags. So when you go to the store, instead of getting the plastic bag, I have some of those. And then reusable bags instead of like plastic Walmart bags, stuff like that.
ZC says, random question. How did you two meet? Love from Zebedee and Chris Ann in Minnesota, formerly Connecticut. And Tara asks, silicone reusable Ziplocs.
Yes. And you can buy them at Walmart. They have a bunch. You also buy them on Amazon. There's a lot of different brands. Just kind of, I like one brand on Amazon. It's called UMISS, like the letter U, MISS. Those have lasted me 2 years. They're really good.
And to answer ZC's question, we met in college. We were both music majors. And one semester, we were in the same choir, and we got assigned to sit next to each other because you had assigned seating in the choir. And then we also had chapel that we had to go to twice a week. And of the like 900 people in chapel, you got assigned seats there. Laura got assigned to the seat just one away from me. And we had a close friend
sat in between us.
That sat in between us. Sometimes we would switch seats with him. And we also did a couple of, Laura played French horn in college, and I was a tenor. And we also did a couple of projects together that semester. So I basically we saw each other like 5 days a week.
Yep.
We were forced to see each other 5 days a week.
Which is kind of funny because we didn't really have a lot in common other than music. And then we've been married 14 years, is that right? Coming up 14 years? Yeah. And now I feel like we have a lot in common now, but we don't do music together anymore. We don't, it's not something that works well for us. We don't get along musically.
But we had a lot of fun in college together. I do miss doing, it was a lot of fun to do in college, to like focus on music all day.
It was.
To sing all day. I really enjoyed that.
Then you get out in the world and you're like, maybe I should have done something more practical.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
But we had a good time in college. That's how we met. After that semester, it was all over.
So.
Pretty much. We were joined at the hip, weren't we?
Yep, we were.
Suzanne says, congratulations on your nursing course progress. It's obviously a lot of work, but you're getting it done and doing well. Yes, after this term, I will be halfway done already. So once we get to Christmas, I'll have 3 of my 6 terms done. They're all between 8 and 10 week terms.
What's crazy is I was thinking about it today, from when you actually started, because you had to do all those prereqs.
Right.
We're like 75% of the way done.
That's true. Yeah, if you count the prereqs as well. I had, since my background is music.
You had 0 science classes.
Yeah, going into nursing, I didn't have any advanced like science or math or like anatomy and physiology, like none of that. And so I had to bust my butt to get those. I submitted all of my prereqs just like at the last hour to be able to apply to the program.
Well,
It
you
was
did like
close.
18 months worth of prerequisite courses in like 6 months or something crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts.
But
It
we were
was-
determined to not have to wait another year.
That was the key. We had looked. There actually are, since we're like kind of in the middle of Missouri, like there's a decent amount of programs in Springfield, Missouri, and Kansas City, and St. Louis. A lot of them have like a decent amount of online coursework that you can do. You still have to go in to do clinicals and to learn practical things, but out of all of them, I was going to miss the deadline. That like it was just going to be impossible, except for this one program. All the other colleges, like I had missed the deadline, and I was gonna have to wait basically a whole nother year, and we didn't want to do that. So I just pushed through, and we got it
You did.
by the skin of our teeth. ZC says, awesome, that's so cool. We're retired church musicians, so
Awesome.
there you go. That's a lot of fun. Let's see. And then admire you, Sam, for all you do at home, plus going to nursing school. I know how hard it is, as our daughter is a NICU NP and does a 24-hour shift. We've talked about that.
You
That
did talk about
24-hour shift sounds pretty good to me. To do some kind of a... I've actually specifically talked to Laura about, in the future, doing a NICU NP kind of a thing. But maybe not. We'll see.
You still have to kind of test the waters and see.
Yeah,
what you like doing.
I'm really excited about this term because so far we've mostly just dealt with adults. So we get to do the labor and delivery side. We'll get to do
I told him he
the-
better get 100 on everything on the
Yeah, but I
Get
told
so
her,
much
do you see that
experience.
book like that? There's no way I know all of that stuff. But anyway, I'm really excited about this term because I think it'll help me narrow down like whether I like working with kids or the labor and delivery
Yeah.
side, or whether that's something that maybe we'll pass on. But I also want to say, as much work as it is for me to do the schoolwork, I feel like Laura works twice as hard, picking up all the slack and doing everything here at the house because it's an incredible amount of work. This is definitely a team effort for sure.
It is a team effort.
Let's see. Yeah. Where were we? We got off track just a little bit.
Oh, that's okay.
We were
I think
talking
we pretty
about-
much covered the reducing waste.
Right.
A lot of it really is just convenience items, and there's a way around. Oh, I got an itchy eyeball. Sorry, something's in my eye. There's a lot of ways around them. I mean, people never used to have plastic or disposable stuff. Just really new, like historically.
It's
So if you just
true,
kind of go
yeah.
back and think about, well, how did my grandmother ... Most of the time, you kind of figure out a solution. Now, sometimes things don't work as well. I will say that. Sometimes things don't work as well, and you're like, I see why they invented whatever, and so there's a trade-off. But there's usually a way around most throwaway things, and a lot of it just has to do with, do you have the time and the
Yeah.
systems?
We've talked about that so many times. It's the same thing with like trying to live off grid or
Yeah.
do things that way. You can do it, but it's going to take extra time, and it's that big,
Right. And I think when you look at it like as a stay-at-home parent, I have a lot to do, but I have the time, like I'm at home. And so to me, that being able to replace a lot of one-time use items that are more expensive with consistently reusable items, it's like making money for my family. I'm not going out to make money, trading my time in, to make actual cash, and then going out and spending cash on those things to replace the time that I've lost. Like I have the time, and so I can save the money. But if I was a full-time working parent, some of these things, like, there just wouldn't be time to do them all, and so it's kind of a trade-off.
We oh no, I just forgot. I just thought about like 4 different things, and then I just forgot all of them. I can't remember if it was something you were saying or something I had read. I totally forgot where I was going. Let's see. Debbie says, maybe if I read through some of these, it'll pop back into my brain. Debbie says, good luck, Sam, with school. It'll be done before you know it, then on to working. But blessings to you all. Thank you, Debbie. ZC says, you're both such hard workers. Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
yes, Laura is awesome. Diane. Susanna says, good nurses are very needed. It will be a long-term advantage for you in the future. Maybe you can do question and answer sessions in the future if people need advice. I don't know. I feel like I would need a little bit more experience. Maybe in the future, like 4 or 5 years down the road.
Bad medical advice.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to get a few years under my belt before I give people advice, I think. And then Iris Lady says, we used to put the glass and tin cans in the outhouse hole many years ago, of course. I'd never heard of that.
Well, it's like because you end up burying it all,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it makes sense, but I'd never heard of that. Interesting.
My grandmother used to wash her aluminum foil and use it. I wash my aluminum foil because I don't use it that often because most of my pans and stuff have lids. But every once in a while, I have something that doesn't have a cap and I use foil. But I wash it, dry it, and then I fold it back up for next time.
I remember what I was going to say. When we were talking about the time and effort it takes. Like, I know some people that are really into sustainability will give other people a hard time when it comes to like cloth diapers and things like that. But like, man, that's a time investment. Like it takes extra time, and so for some people, it's not worth it. So you have to. Every family and every person is different.
I think that's one of our goals with our channel is we want people to feel encouraged with wherever you're at. Like, make one small step in whatever direction you want to go. And in this case, we're talking about waste usage. It doesn't have to be 100%. And I feel like there's some channels out there that make it feel like if you're not going 110%, then you're like, it's not even worth it.
You're wrong.
Or you're wrong. And it's not practical. Like, not everybody can stay home. There's channels we watch that do incredible things, and they're like, I don't know why everybody doesn't do this. But, they don't have kids, or they have one kid, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, I can't even imagine being able to complete a project in a day. Like, do you know how much time I spend, like, educating the kids and wiping noses and butts? Yeah. Like, I can't do that stuff, but doesn't mean I can't do some things. So.
And good on those people for everything they do.
And
that's awesome. Go for it.
So, but you gotta look at where you're at, and then don't worry about diving in 100%. Like, what step can you make? Where's your end goal? Just start taking small steps.
Yeah, every situation is different for sure. Susanna says, my parents were depression kids, and we did save aluminum foil. I try to reuse when I can. Irish Lady says she washes the foil too.
This is interesting. So I'm in several Facebook groups, for people with larger families, and people, because I think Elaine said you were from Nova Scotia. People in Canada, they don't buy milk in cartons. Like she says, they get milk in a bag, and you get 3 liters at a time. Yeah.
Milk is $6.
$6.
If anyone was wondering. Now we know.
I actually thought in the future, it would be really cool to have,
what?
Speaking of milk in a bag, one of those industrial milk dispensers like they have in cafeterias. And you just put the bag on top, so
they just dispense
what they need it. Yeah.
I can't imagine when the kids are all older how much milk we're gonna go through.
That's why we were talking about getting a milk cow. So
see.
And Ziploc bags too, but not that. Yeah, but not with meat in them. Yes, you can definitely wash Ziploc bags a few times before they'll start kind of falling apart on you, and it's a good way to get some more use out of them. Elaine says, I save the milk bags that the milk comes in. I use those for several things.
Ooh,
yeah, it's a great idea. So good reuse.
I would imagine those bags would be pretty
sturdy.
Sturdy.
Well, and it makes sense. So I think the Canadians have milk in bags because it's easier to transport. Like, it's smaller, and you can stack it. I think.
I mean, yeah, I would.
Because they're covering large, people are so spread out. But that's interesting because those milk curtains are just.
I don't know if it's a cultural thing.
You gotta crush them and stuff to get them in there. So, let's see. Diane says I use cereal bags for freezer bags. Yes, and I we talked about before. I save every bread and tortilla and whatever bag we open. I save it and I reuse it multiple times for packing lunches and stuff. There really isn't a need most of the time for Ziploc bags. Excuse me, if you're saving the plastic that's already coming into your house. A lot of it's reusable. We just don't, we don't think about those things that much in this day and age, because, we're 80s and 90s kids, and it was a very consumable generation. You used something and you threw it away, and you didn't really think about it again, and things were really cheap compared to wages and stuff, and so where my grandparents saved everything because it was a little more like it is now with costs versus wages. My parents were much more throwing things away. Not that Grammy, I'm not saying you're wasteful. I didn't mean to come out that way. Grammy was actually very good about reusing things, and you could tell that her mother survived the Great Depression and taught Grammy how to reuse a lot of things because Grammy was quite frugal. But I will say, in general, our generation's parents, like, we didn't necessarily see that amount of saving, and so our generation is kind of relearning some of those things now because we've never seen it done that way.
Yeah, I think it's just interesting to look at it all from like a cultural perspective, because I think that's where a lot of it comes from too,
Yeah.
kind of. And like what's available, your resources, I guess.
Yep.
For each country or region. Let's see. Oh no, we did the cereal bags.
And Adela's here.
Adela's here.
Welcome.
Hello.
Prep Fraternity says, I save all my bread bags now because of the video you did with tomatoes frozen in bread bags. Yep. Just freeze them. Or, wrapping sandwiches in them. When I make homemade bread, I'll make multiple loaves and then I'll freeze them in the bread bags instead of, because you can buy bread bags for homemade bread, but why do that when I'm already buying bread and saving the bread bags? So
Diane says she feels like the old ways are coming back. Yeah, I think
I would agree so.
Some people, a lot of people are trying to get back to being at least a little bit more sustainable where they can. And Adele says she still does too. With what
Suzanne, Suzanne said tries to reuse stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of it, a lot of it is just educating people, like, especially our generation. Like, if you haven't seen that, like, you just never think about it. Like, you think of a bread bag as a one-use product, and you throw it away, and then you go out and you buy your Ziploc bags. So that's, like, culturally what you've been taught to do. And so it's about, saying, hey, you could save yourself. Ziploc bags are expensive. You could save yourself $5 or $6 this week. Just save your bread bags.
And I think you're right, because a lot of things, like saving a bread bag, like, you got to wash it out, but that's some of these things are really small, and I think if people did know about them, they would do them, because it's not that big of an effort for some of these things. Other things it's going to take some work, but a lot of things, if you can do just a few things here and there, it'll save you a few bucks.
And then it all adds up.
Some waste.
And a lot of times, you see people posting, I need to save money on groceries. How do I cut down my grocery budget? A lot of it is just, it's like little things at a time. And when you really pay attention to those, saving that dollar, reusing that bag, taking this out of my budget and making it myself because I can do that incredibly cheaper, like it really kind of snowballs. And, especially if you're stocking your pantry that way, which is why I'm so, like, adamant about, like, learn how to pressure can. Because then you don't have to worry about, if I don't have enough money to buy groceries this week, there's no food in my house. Like, you've been stocked up, and you've ended up saving quite a bit of money over time. It's hard, when you're already up against the wall, it can be hard to find ways to save money. So it's about making those small steps.
Yep, doing what you
Investing,
can where you are.
Anything else for the good of the order?
So we're doing one 13-gallon trash bag a week for our family of 8.
Diane says, I wish our schools would bring back home economics. I learned a lot from it back in the day. I enjoyed home economics too. That's actually where I learned how to sew. And thanks to Mrs. Miner, who taught me how to using a sewing machine, I'm able to sew a lot of things. Not fancy things, but little things and fix things. So it was very useful.
Learned.
Yep, and the girls have learned.
And ZC says, speaking of waste, what happened with the beetle infestation? Did we miss an update?
Yeah, I gave a brief update at the very beginning, but the beetles have not actually been a problem the last few days because it's been overcast, and they only come into the house if it's sunny and the sun shines on the house, and then they come streaming in because it's a warm surface.
Crazy.
So several people had a recommendation of product to buy, and so, but I haven't needed it because they haven't been coming in. So if it doesn't freeze again before it's sunny again and they all start coming in again, I will try it and let you know how it works.
Let's see, Bandana Grandma says, my dad was a great one for saving money and reusing everything. However, we drew the line when he put bright yellow plastic newspaper sleeves over his ceiling fan blades so he didn't have to dust them.
That's something your dad would do.
That's funny. I like that. That's actually a pretty good idea.
Oh, I hate dusting. Terry says bread bags lost popularity during time they were painted with lead paint. Okay, I didn't know about that.
Dropping some knowledge on us.
There's sometimes when you read about history, you're like, how did anybody survive that time? Like lining everything with asbestos or whatever they were doing at the time. Like, how did anybody survive? So
Prep for Eternity says, we grow salad greens, but the times through the year we can't grow it, we buy salad from the store. Any ideas what to do with the large plastic container it comes in? Always feel guilty throwing it away.
But yeah,
The
yeah,
big
we get those too. So
Totes, yeah.
yeah,
kind of
so
things.
I've seen them used. People use them as mini greenhouses, but there's a certain point at which you can't just save everything because you become a plastic bin hoarder. So things like that make good trays for starting seeds too. If you poke a couple holes in the bottom, and then you just put soil in there, and whatever you're wanting to start early, like your tomatoes, you can start a few of them in there together, and then break them apart when you want to plant them.
Could you use those as leftover containers? Or are they not
Yeah,
thick enough?
you could use them probably as a leftover container. You wouldn't be able to heat anything up in them.
That's true.
Sometimes the kids use them for art projects as well. They like to make
That's
Barbie
true.
cars out of them and things.
You're right. Sometimes there's not a way to reuse.
Yeah, I can't
It's
save
just- it's
every
like in
jar
a
that comes in
weird
and things.
shape or something.
Yeah.
Let's see. Carrie says, "Sorry, just got in. I'll watch from the beginning when done."
Well, thanks for
Thank you,
popping in.
Carrie. Good thumbs up from ZC.
On the bugs. Home economics was great. Sewing, cooking, first aid, and home decorating and childcare taught us many good and useful things. Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah, Iris Lady says those plastic containers are good for seed starting.
Yep.
There you go.
Prep for eternity. You can use those plastic bins to sprout microgreens. Yep. So, yeah, I actually won $50 worth of meat on a $5 raffle ticket 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Well, that's lucky. Good job, Aunt Holly.
That's fun.
Okay. Adele says, I save bacon grease and freeze bananas whole and overripe, make muffins. Yes, saving bacon grease. I have not bought a spray grease in probably 5 years. I save bacon grease and I save beef grease.
And we
And
get
then
lard from our
We get lard when we
pigs.
buy a pig. Like, I just use all that stuff for anything that needs to be fried or greased or whatever. It unless
makes
you have
most
like
things taste better.
it does. I mean, I'm sure it's adding calories. So if you're, on a specialized diet, maybe you can't do that and you need the Pam spray. But it's something that's expensive that it's really not necessary for most of us. And you're already creating that grease if you're eating bacon or if you're eating hamburgers or anything like that. Like I pour it into a little mason jar and keep it in the fridge.
Yep. You're welcome, Prep for Eternity. Terry says, I already knew a lot of the home ec stuff. Wish I had paid more attention to the detailed info, cost charts, cups, and 10 pounds of flour type things.
Yep. That's why
Some
I'm
of those
glad.
ratios and stuff.
I'm glad we have Siri on this day and age. I can't tell how many times I have to ask Siri, hey Siri, how many cups are in a bag of flour? Or, whatever the question of the day is.
Yeah, I'm thankful for YouTube. Not only for like the homestead stuff, but anytime I go to start a project, if you're trying to fix a car or anything like that, you can pop on and find a few videos that'll tips and tricks of people being like, if you go to do this, do it this way. It helps so much a lot of times. Adele says she loves lard as well. And we got some congratulations for Aunt Holly.
That's a great, it feels good when you win that. That's a good thing for your family too. So
Adele says, I think it's 15 cups
That
in a
sounds about right.
$5 bag.
Sounds
or
about
5
right.
pound bag, excuse me.
which is about a $5 bag right now. Let's see. Yeah. So I think my rule of thumb will be that we're considering waste anything that goes in the trash bin, knowing that we cannot recycle. So we won't be putting plastic things in a recycling. They have to go in the trash, which that's different depending on where you live. So we'll still have our burn barrel, and that doesn't count towards our waste total, and we still have our compost pile, and that doesn't count towards the waste total. And we can recycle glass. And from what I understand, glass is actually like, as far as things that are recyclable, glass is one of those things that is truly recyclable. Mm-hmm. And we do have a drop point for glass in town right by church. So I save the glass anyway. So paper, compost, and glass are not waste because they're not going in the trash bin, but anything else is going in that trash bin down to the end of the driveway. And the goal is 1 13-gallon kitchen bag a week. And we will keep everyone updated on how that's going. So I think the first week there'll be some challenges, but I think like when your mind's set on it and we already know what's in that trash can and how we're taking it out, I actually don't think it's going to be that hard. I think the hardest part will be making sure the kids aren't throwing food in the trash can.
Mm-hmm. Diane says, I changed the headlight on my car watching YouTube.
Yep.
Anytime I work on a car, I always pop on 1 or 2 YouTube videos because even if it's something easy, if I haven't done it before, inevitably they'll have a tip like, you don't have to take all of this off to get to this part, and it will save you an hour or two. And so I always, if it's something I haven't done, always try and find a short YouTube video to watch with cars. Debbie says, the old ways are coming back because things are too expensive to waste. I reuse things when I can.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so. It's very, very true. People are kind of getting back into some of that stuff.
I also think it just makes you feel more like I know maybe not the best word, but like in control. So in a time when prices really feel out of control on some things, when when I was looking at that cart and I was like, how do I get this price down? It's $50. I really don't spend more than $40. And then I realized I don't have to buy any of this. The costs are not going to control me on these things. Like, I'm just not going to buy their stuff. And if they want to lower their prices eventually, or whatever happens, like, I'll think about it. But they're not going to get my dollar if they're going to raise prices that much.
Well, you even see like an uptick, even like on our videos when you make like a depression cooking and stuff. Like even
People
that
are
stuff's
interested,
becoming popular. Iris Lady says, I fixed my washing machine by watching YouTube. And Holly says, I've become a YouTube junkie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great Depression grandma had a little freestanding kitchen cupboard for saved items. When a shelf filled, she divested herself of stuff, kept her from hoarding. That's a great tip. It can become a little bit like,
got a fine line.
You feel guilty throwing anything away. You can't keep everything in your house, but most things you can find repurposed. And I will say, if
being organized helps with some of that
the
stuff.
kids can repurpose like everything. If I'm like, hey, who wants this box? Suddenly there's a Barbie house or something. It's a toy.
Sure.
So, Susanna says, I changed and installed snow car chain to watch a YouTube video. I tried to place a part in the toilet tank, but that didn't work. Yeah, sometimes you get stuck. But Diane, thanks for joining us. Have a good night. Yeah, YouTube is awesome.
Well, I will say that happens to me a lot, though. My car never looks exactly like the car in the video. They'll be like, yeah, you just pop this off real quick, and the guy just... And then for me, it takes me 30 minutes to try and... Whatever.
Or he's like, you're going to need these 14 specialized tools that only work on one bolt each. And you're like, well, great. I'm just going to take you to the mechanic. I'm going to spend $500 just buying those tools.
That's true. Sometimes that does happen, but anyway.
I'm excited, though. And I think it'll be a good lesson for the girls. I mean, we already are kind of waste conscious, and they talk about it, especially Micah, like, because she's really interested in, like, science and history and stuff. She's becoming more conscious about, like, what does it do to the earth if we just keep throwing things away? And so I think it'll be a fun little like lesson for them too about like good stewardship. So,
but she really likes, like Laura said, she loves history, and so trying to live a little bit like
back then,
someone from the past or whatever, and saving things, or like she thinks that's kind of cool. So it's fun to do things like that when your kids start to get a little bit older and can understand a little bit more. It'll be a good challenge. Low waste November.
But it sounds better when you say no waste November.
I know.
So they need to bring back Captain Planet. I remember that. Saturday mornings.
Homestead Nana says, I save by bartering. I barter my eggs for veggies almost all summer since my garden didn't produce well.
Yeah, this is a tough summer for a lot of
we bartered a lot too. We bartered piano lessons for
milk,
fresh cow's milk. Well, so we've bartered eggs before for things.
Yeah, eggs for vegetables.
Trading things
before. Yep. ZC says taking care of God's creation. Yes, absolutely. I think God created, when he created Adam and Eve and gave Adam, can't remember the word in the Bible, but like lordship over the earth. I don't necessarily think he meant take everything from it. I think he meant be a caretaker and do your best to take care. Use the resources, but use them wisely. So
I think it's important.
Terry says, on a tight budget, mostly buying good to great price things in volume, then eating mostly from the larder. Yep, and we talked about that a little bit earlier. So I'm just so passionate. I'm having a canning day with some friends in a couple of weeks, teaching them how to can, some friends from church, and I'm really excited about that. I just think it's such a great way to be able to like slowly start to build your stockpile, seeing things on sale and being like, hey, those mushrooms, like I bought mushrooms last week and they were like 70% less than they usually are because they were like reduced for use today. But because I know how to can, I could use them that day, even though I'm going to eat them over the next 6 months.
Right.
And just save so much money when you can buy a lot of your food that way. So, all right, Sam, you gonna go do some reading?
I probably should do some reading. I was already telling Laura, like, this week, for that maternal child, I gotta read, I think it's 170 pages, and that doesn't include pharmacology, which would probably be, 100 and something pages too. And you're like, man, when you think about it, like 300 pages or so, you're like, that's not that much. But we look at those textbooks, 300 pages, and then to have that
non-interesting reading.
yeah, and to try and get that stuff memorized and committed so you can take tests, that is a lot of reading. So yeah, I probably need to jump on that.
Right. And if you're watching this now or on the repeat later and you have something that you do to reduce your waste, whatever it is, some sort of cleaning supply you make for yourself or anything that you do in your house, comment below. I always love to hear ideas, things that we can incorporate or things that other people will read and they'll be like, oh yeah, I could do that too. So I think we all learn from one another, and that's
Make sure to leave a
awesome.
thumbs up here for us before you hop out of the live stream. That always helps the videos
as well
do a little bit better.
All right, we're gonna head out. We appreciate you all. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you probably next week's Halloween, so probably not next week, but I think that would make some little people really upset. So hopefully the week after. Thanks so much for watching, guys.
You guys have a good week. Take care. Thanks for hopping on.